Hello, and welcome to Making Sense of It. We are looking at reality therapy, choice theory, lead management, and our speaker today is Wendall Walker. And he is quite versed in all of these, in quality school, also versed in that. And so, welcome those of you that are here. And Wendall, we're ready when you are.
All right. Thank you, Mona. Mona, you said there would be a round of applause.
Oh, right.
Oh, there it is. There it is. All right. I've used that before, but it's good every time anyway, too. Um, Mona, let's go ahead and put up the handout that I've got for today.
Okay, well, talk to us just a minute while I find it. I thought I had it here.
All right. I'll scramble. I'll fill in too. I try to be creative sometimes, and sometimes just in the presentation. I've got a lot of one-page handouts like Mona does. I don't have PowerPoint to encapsulate, to briefly summarize key concepts of a particular item. There it is, Mona. Thank you. All right. This is one of them. Well, the date on this is March 1999, but it stands good today. And so I was putting together a handout. This is consistent today. There are four main areas that glaciarians would want to talk about. And of course, the core would be choice theory. And then we would talk about counseling with choice theory, which we called reality therapy at the beginning. And we would talk about lead management. There are books by Glasser on all of these subjects. And the extremely important area, too, of the application of choice theory, lead management, and reality therapy ideas in the school and education system, which we call Glasser Quality Schools. So what I've done with this quote handout is just I've taken the words. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit, Mona. I've taken the words choice theory, reality therapy, and I say scroll down, lift it up, and lead management and quality schools, and use the beginning letters as the lead off for a little phrase or a word. And at first I was going to be, that's good, thank you. You see how that's that. And I could have done that straight down the sideline, and it'd have been kind of a dull handout. I'm hoping that just the layout makes it a little bit more eye-catching than normal. So
Wendell took the letters in each one of these words, and now he's going to add sparkle to it as to what it means.
Yeah. Well, you see, I love acronyms. Is a series of letters that actually make a word themselves. Here in Pinellas County, there's PAR, P-A-R, and PAR is a word, or PAR for the course, or that sort of thing. And it stands for Pinellas Alcoholism Resources. So it's nice when now we have abbreviations, NAACP, but that's not a word that you speak just there, but we know it. But I'm big on acronyms. And I thought at first, erroneously, we was going to call these acronyms, like choice. The first word after every first letter does start with a C, but if it was a true acronym, then the word choice would stand for something. Like if there was a nonprofit organization named Choice that stood for children having options in blah, 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 something or other, it would be a true acronym, but this is not. So at first I thought I had acronyms, but I don't. But just kind of maybe a semi-clever way of triggering off some review of concepts. My guest today, my hope today, and we were talking about vision and mission statements Monday. Hope would be a word, could be in there too. My hope for my time with you is that there will be you'll be confirmed, affirmed for things that you already know and know well, and it fit in there. We might hit on, I would be really delighted if we hit on something that you had known from some time in the past, but had kind of forgotten about it. Oh yeah, I remember that now. Wobbling told me that, or Sue told me that. I forgot about that. But to be remembered on something and bring it back in. I'm hoping for those of you that have quite a bit of experience with Glasser stuff, might find just a slightly new way of something being said. It'd be hard for me to say something that you did not already know quite well, but maybe hearing it said a different way, that might add to the breadth of our review on this. And what this is just a review of the basic concepts. You're welcome if you can figure out how to, I can send it to you, maybe Mona can too. This is a one-page handout that stands on its own. And if you found use for it, you could copy it and put it under windshield wipers at the Walmart, or, you know, in the training that you've got or whatever. But let me go through this and I will ad lib on some of these. I'll ask you to maybe make a few notes on the side that you'd like to come back to and ask about or enhance about or tell a personal story or reflection on, or be additive to the comment too. So I shall zoom right through these. Okay. Choice theory, of course, all of this is based on the work of Dr. William Glasser. We're coming up in August on the 10th anniversary of his passing. So choice, C, choices and choosing. In my conversation and training, I'm not doing counseling, but I do role play demonstrations in the training. And in those role plays and in the training, I'm starting to use the word choose and choice in the first few seconds, the first minute. I want to use them as often as I can so that people start getting the idea that virtually everything we're doing is a choice. People will say, I didn't have a choice, I didn't have a choice. One of these days, I think I even said one day to some of you, how many choices do you think we make a day? When I'm driving, I'm making a choice every second. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I'm looking left and right. I'm turning the volume up. I'm watching my speed. I'm watching the red light. And virtually every second, if you multiply one of those times 60 times the number of minutes, you know, there are 1,440 minutes in a day. We're making mega thousands of choices all the time. And yet people a lot of the time feel like they don't have a choice. But I want them to get the idea that they're making choices, and where they are currently, where I'm at currently, is a function of the choices that I've made. There's certainly outside forces that impact on me, but choosing and choices and that sort of thing, that's very helpful. I want to talk about having option hope, H, having options and hope. It's a choice here is a very hopeful psychology, and I'm going to use that terminology. Opposite of external control psychology. And one of the things I wanted to remind people about here, or if you haven't heard it maybe for the first time, Glasser started off using stimulus response. He said that choice theory was the opposite of stimulus response psychology. And then I think somebody talked to him about that. And because that might have been specifically attributed to another of the major biggies in the world of psychology, he decided not to use that specific term. even though it made sense. Uh, and he started using the generic external control psychology. Choice theory is a psychology of internal control that's counter to the fairly common predominant external control psychology of the world. But stimulus response, he used it for a while and then stopped. We're internally motivated. Glasser never talked about locus of control. That's a common term with counselors, locus of control, and even motivational speakers. Internal locus of control, external locus of control. Nowicki Strickland, two psychology people like they were in Atlanta, maybe at Emory. Glasser's daughter, Alice, went to medical school at Emory in Atlanta. But Nowicki Strickland developed a nice 50 question instrument on locus of control. And you give it and people answer it and then they score. And it tells you whether they mostly think that their life is controlled from outside, external locus of control, or internal locus of control. I mean, if I took the instrument today, I don't know if I'd score 50 out of 50 on saying that my life is, my choices are pretty much my own responsibility. But Glasser didn't use the term locus of control, but talking about people being internally motivated. That's a significant part of the education. There was a while when he adopted the term control theory and wrote a book titled by that there were people that didn't like the term control theory. It conjured up maybe trying to control other people. And that was never what he meant. And so then he changed it to choice theory. But he meant control of self and not control of others all along. And so that typically had to be kind of explained. But from a presentation that I did a couple of months ago on control systems, control theory is a theory of control systems. And we're surrounded by control systems. The cruise control on our car, the air conditioning heating system, you set it at the desired temperature, the speed, the setting, and it works by itself and it monitors reality. And so the brain is a control system. It's a very nice explanation from William Powers. We set it in our head what we want. We look around. Maybe you're fixing soup. I just figured this. Maybe a stew or something, and you keep tasting it. Oh, it needs a little bit more of this. It needs a little bit more of that, and then finally you got it just right. So we have a desired outcome, and we keep taking in information from the world and through our senses and evaluating. And finally, when we got what we want, then we're happy with that. But control of self and not others. The E on choice, explanation of motivation and behavior. I'm encouraging everybody that I'm working with to get a 1-minute Shark Tank elevator presentation. Hey, you're studying that reality theory, control therapy, reality theory stuff, and you have to correct them on the terminology. What's that all about? Choice theory is a psychology of human motivation and behavior. Boom. 9 seconds. Then you add to it from Dr. William Glasser. That gives them a handle to put things on. But it quickly, I use the term control theory psychology. I try to use that, add that on all the time. Choice theory psychology. I don't just say choice theory, but because all the others they're not, it's Adlerian psychology, it's cognitive psychology, it's choice theory psychology. Anyway, that's what I use. That tells people what we're talking about. If I say choice theory, is this quantum physics? Is this whatever, but psychology, I like that too. Okay, a T for total behavior of 4 components. We know what those are. That helps remind me. H, I'm using this. I want to be operating to help myself without hurting others. And in that little fill in the blanks page that I gave you for reviewing choice theory, I think one of the last blanks in there was the definition of responsible behavior, was trying to get my needs met without infringing or impeding other people getting theirs, kind of a cooperative thing, helping myself without hurting others. And E for evaluating self-evaluation. That's a constant term all the way through Glasser's work. O, organized behaviors and creativity. We may not use the term organized behaviors that frequently. I'm trying to use it more often. I'll be doing something I've done maybe 1,000 times, and you're always kind of fumbling with it. And maybe somebody says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to do this." It just takes, "Oh, why don't you do it like this?" Oh, wow. And so they show me something, and I learned some new way to do what I was trying to do before that's easier. And so now I learned the new way, and it now becomes an organized behavior for me. I tell a joke, a story, I use an analogy that Mona uses, and I even attribute it to her. I said, "Well, my friend Mona has a story about blah, blah, so and so, and it's in my organized behavior." We'll call it our tool bag, our repertoire of resources, or what have you. But I like the idea of organized behavior. I don't think people do this. My life sucks. I've tried everything in the world. I don't know what to do. I've tried anxietizing. I've tried crying. I've tried begging. I don't know what to do. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll start depressing. And that's not the way that works. But the person ends up engaging in behaviors that might be described as depressing. And there's some payoff there. We can talk about that a good bit. And then it becomes a nice organized behavior. I just directly go to that. It's not realized by the individual that it's chosen after that, but it is. Choice theory could be called responsibility psychology. A lot of people are going to like that if you lead with that terminology. I'm going to share with you today a psychology of human motivation and behavior from Dr. William Glasser that talks about personal responsibility. Oh yeah, that's what we need, more personal responsibility. So a lot of people will like that, personal responsibility. Okay, why your wants and 5 basic needs. We have so many different ways to enter into a dialogue with a person about needs, wants, relationships, total behavior. We can come at it from different angles too. Coming down to reality therapy words, relationships. I'm hearing everywhere on television, from political people, from educational people, from gun legislation, what have you, about relationships and connectedness. Boy, and one of the common things for a lot of the shooters in these mass shootings are people that are disconnected. They don't have significant connections with responsible adults. Glasser talked forever about people just need at least one good connection relationship with a responsible other person. It could be I say adult, it could be a teenager. A lot of teenagers in the quality school things go back and mentor kids in the lower elementary grades, and they're responsible. You've got that though. Boy, a lot of teachers get credit for literally saving the lives of kids. They use the term save with air traffic controllers. This person is credited with a save, a near collision. And I've heard the term, we're educators. they literally were a saving grace, a saving relationship in the life of a kid who had no other responsible adults in his or her life. And this teacher, but for this teacher, the kid would have been, out of there too. Let me get moving on. Emphasize strengths. We've always talked about emphasize strengths rather than failures. Lucy Billings does a lot of good workshops and presentations about the effective use of questions. Sometimes I get myself in trouble a little bit with my wife if I'm asking too many pointed questions, because that's what she got from her controlling external control father. So it takes her right back to, that were, what are you doing? Where were you? Who were you with? Blah, blah, blah. So I have to be careful, but questions are extremely important. A lot more effective if I'm skilled at it than telling, more asking than telling. And then of course I need to listen actively and paraphrase and feed back to people that they see that I hear what they're saying. Involvement with clients, there are limits to that. We used the term involvement back in the early eight steps of reality therapy. Everybody has their own personality. Some will be more detached and objective and outside here. Some are more engaging with their clients. There's a good discussion to be had for when might be it appropriate to even do personal sharing. Do you, Miss Topol, do you have a dog? Do you have a dog? I got a dog, and my dog, do you have a dog? And maybe you talk about what's your dog's name and so on. But we talk about some things, but not other things. We're mostly focusing on people. But one of the things that kids love with their teachers is when they know about their teachers and their teachers a little bit about their family lives. They seem like people, real people to them, and and the teacher shares something about part of a family member. We have a new kid, and a therapist the same way. Appropriate personal sharing. Teaching choice theory. I've got this circled on my page here. I'll put that right up there. I don't know. One of the things that a counselor, that I would say if I was talking with people wanting to become counselors in agencies or in private practice, start teaching choice theory to your client in session 1. In fact, you could just teach choice theory. It would be called psychoeducation as a therapeutic modality. In other words, all you're doing is teaching them choice theory, and it becomes therapeutic. They internalize it and they see about the choices that they're making too. But it's a major part of counseling, teaching, parenting, supervising with a choice theory mentality. The why I was struggling with is why you act friendly. In the original 8 steps, one of the 8 steps was make friends. And I've jumped on that for a long time, and then as I learned choice theory better, I realized that I had no control over making friends. What do I have control over? I have control over acting friendly, acting interested. I'm big on mathematics. If I act in these ways here, I increase the probability that other people will see me as a need satisfying person and choose to cooperate. I can't make it happen. If I act in these ways over here, I increase the probability that they will choose to become non-cooperative and oppositional. I don't make it happen, but I can increase the probability. But it doesn't happen every time, and I have to be willing once in a while to say, wow, this person doesn't like me, and it ain't going to happen. But I act friendly. So we changed it from make friends to be friendly, be involved. All right, coming on down here. I've got therapy. I've got T for thinking, one of the 2 front wheels on the total behavior car. H, I've got help with planning. when a person is really stuck and we say, well, so what you're telling me, Jeremy, is that you're not happy with the way things are going now. You want it this way, but you've tried some stuff and it hasn't worked. And you want it to get better, but you're not sure what to do. I don't want to prescribe for them myself in general, but I have ideas what they could do. Now, but you might start sharing with them in a helpful way. Well, what do you think I should do, Ms. Topal? What do you think I should? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's just a tough situation. You know, put your thinking cap on. What have you ever thought about doing that you haven't tried? What have your friends suggested to you? Okay. And I might even say, well, I had a person that I worked with in your situation, and here's what they tried. I'm not prescribing that for the person. Oh, really? I never thought about that. Man, that might be something to think about. Ultimately, I want them to, as they make the plan, to take ownership of it, but they might need a little help with planning, some ideas, some encouragement, what have you. All the way through the process of working with people, we're encouraging their evaluation of what's happening, of what's going on too. Way back at the beginning, we had the 3 R's of reality therapy. That's even probably lost in the literature, but it was reality, personal responsibility, and right versus wrong. That's straight from Glasser's thinking. A for acting, another one of the front wheels of time of the total behavior car. P for present time focus. We know we're primarily trying to work on things right now. People's problems right now, even though they may be connected back there, are primarily attached to what's going on in their life at the moment and the choices that they're making. And so I want to maybe acknowledge the other, but bring it into this is what we have control over now. You know? Glasser was good at avoiding criticism and coercion. And we know, and people would test him out. They'd say crazy things. They'd say blah, blah, this and that. And he wouldn't blink or, or frown or anything, And sometimes my understanding is that there'll be clients that'll be trying to push you away or say things to offend you or to shock you or what have you. And, well, sometimes things get tough. There've been a few times in my life when I was really upset and bothered, and I said or did something I wasn't really happy about later. So sometimes we get a little overheated and we do things. And but fortunately, if we've got the skills, the organized behavior to come back and make amends or to apologize or what have you, that's what counts. We were talking the other day about mission and vision. Let me come on down the handout here, Mona. Moving into the lead management. In counseling, in parenting, in organizational leadership, we want to know what the vision, the mission is. And in my interaction with, if I'm the supervisor or manager or what have you, is I'm always trying to interact with people as we're moving toward that objective, that goal, the overall vision. And sometimes you can take a hit on something here because it's necessary to get around that, The lead manager certainly wants to develop an environment of trust rather than backstabbing, talking about people when they're not around. Some of the what were some of the legislative pieces where people were encouraged to squeal on their to turn in their neighbors? Their neighbors were doing something, and then there was going to be maybe even money for that. Not for having committed a crime, but what? Then when you get that kind of an environment, people are not happy working with others. The lead manager is always looking for staff input. Listen, I've got some ideas about this. We got a new project. I'm bringing it up to you because I want to hear what you have to say. You've dealt with a lot of different priorities and things, and to me it's insane that a brand new elementary school principal would come in and he or she would think that they know more than the other 30 or 40 that are there, and without asking for their input, their ideas. The smart person says, hey, give me your ideas. And then the boss gives them credit and they say, thank you, but I got that from my staff. Mona, I got that from Mona. And that other thing the other day, I got that from Sue. And, but if they're insecure about their own status, they don't want to give any kind of credit, and then they get less than outstanding performance. We want to drive out fear, encourage trust. These are just some management terms, of course. We want to manage for win-win. That'd be whether it's talking about managing or parenting or supervising or counseling or teaching or whatever, And the whole, one of the main theme through quality management is always improving. And we see that with competitive products and automobiles and people always improving, even though they have the top of the line too. This would be a challenge for people to be never punitive. And of course, there are others who want their pint of blood or their, there was a role play. And somebody said, well, but what did you, so you talked to the kid, but what did you do to him? Well, I asked him to redo his work. I gave him an opportunity. Yeah, but what did you do to him? And I think they almost did their hand like this. Did you hit him? Did you hitting him with the ruler? Did you slap him? Did you kick him? Did you berate him? Now, they wanted you to do something punitive to the kid, something physical, that sort of thing too. But the quality management system is never punitive. It could come to the point where it's no longer compatible for this person to work in this environment. But even there, one of the things I've seen people do is, listen, this is not working out. Let's see if we can help you find another place to work where you will fit in. And I'll help you do that, okay? One of the big things in quality management is, rather than focusing on the individuals, is that we focus on the system and we alter the system so that workers can be more successful. And a lot of times it's the system rules. I have some interesting conversations with law enforcement friends who don't seem to have a single notion or thought that there's any kind of systemic racism existing in law enforcement agencies, you see. And yet there can be policies that are in place that nobody particularly said, let's do this to keep out these people, but it was done for some other reason, but it's still there. And it's anti-productive to a diverse work system. I did training down at Fort Rucker in Alabama, and every time there was an opening for a plumber in the plumbing shop, well, one of the good old boys that worked there had a cousin or a nephew, and they would go tell their cousin or nephew, hey, there's an opening there at the shop, Well, that's where the advertisement for the job was, And if your system doesn't advertise in magazines, Ebony, or whatever the whole range of informational systems that are there that might get to a diversity, then you continue getting a non-diverse group of applicants. And then you say, well, we just chose from the list of applicants, but the system can be easily limiting to workers, to everything, you know. In quality management, we're looking to give workers more power. Boy, I hate it when you go in somewhere and say, well, can you authorize this? No, I'm not authorized to do anything over $25. Oh my gosh. Well, who is? Well, that would be Mr. So-and-so. Well, can I speak to him? He'll be back next week. Yeah, I mean, just again, systemic things are getting in the way that are unnecessary. In a quality management environment, the people in charge would especially be mindful of and want to know about and see if they could help employees work toward their own needs and goals and objectives, career objectives, you know. The person would be modeling quality. There would be a positive energy involved there. No coercion, and the training is a big thing. I don't want my time here. A lot of times when you have a problem in a situation like a fast food place, it's not so much a matter of the individual being at fault for something not being done. They weren't trained. So quite often it's a management issue and not an employee. Now, if they've been trained and told, then that's still a management issue. Nobody's checking up on them. Nobody's encouraging them to do that. Let me run down just quickly. Let's see the last part. Oh, in the quality school part. I was in Atlanta last week for a tennis tournament, and I stopped in right near where I stay is a Waffle House. I love the Waffle House. You know, and I love watching the crew behind the counter. You got the chef and the serving people, and they stand to the side and they call the order out, and they're managing multiple things like crazy. Okay, and I just made a mental note, and maybe one of these days I'll do a workshop on what school people can learn from Waffle House employees about our quality management environment. And every one of those employees greeted people that came in the door, whichever one of them was closest front door. Every one of them thanked the other. Here's the cook. He's whipping up soft scrambled eggs. He puts it here. He says, and they got their abbreviations. Two thing, hold the thing short of man, ready. And then the server would say, thank you, Jerry. You know, they were thanking each other all the time. Each knew the job of the other and appreciated it for what it was. And a place like that could only run on all of these kind of ideas. It was just marvelous too. Some of you are not old enough, but 65, 70 years ago, there was a chain of these fast, tiny restaurants called Huddle House. I mean, they were tiny. There were maybe 10 places at the counter, nothing else, no standing, you know, and that one person behind there doing everything. It was just fascinating too. Quality is the focus and goal in a quality school environment. Useful schoolwork. Glasser talks about eliminating schooling, the rote memorization of things. We all had to memorize the presidents. That's, you know, when do we need that? Jeopardy? On Jeopardy, you can't use your Android phone or your iPhone, but when do we need that? We don't need that at all. And so a kid who's not interested in that, it makes sense that kid wouldn't put any interest in there. But if you talked about, show me how to do breakdancing, that kid would know every one of the little flicks and moves. But something else that they're not in. Oh, just quickly while I'm here, I heard Glasser say, every one of us has an attention deficit disorder to things that we're not interested in. I'm standing at a cocktail party. I walk up, there's 2 or 3 people, and they're talking about something, whatever, that I have no interest in. So I'm looking around for another group to join. You know, I'm only half listening. And so do I have attention deficit disorder because I'm not paying attention there? Well, I'm choosing not to. The kid is not choosing to pay attention to something that he or she has no interest in. So the challenge is from management, the educator, the environment, the class meetings, the way you do things. I just admire teachers. The book The Quality School, I think at one time Glasser almost named it, is public school teaching the hardest job there is in the whole country, and yet we pay people the less. Class meetings involve parents and community. At Kay Mentley's first Glasser Quality School in Huntington Woods Elementary in Grand Rapids, Michigan, she had hundreds of hours of parent volunteer time a week because the parents wanted to know what was going on in that school, that their kid loved school. They were happy to be there. And that gave the staff the chance to do all kinds of things that they never would have had when they had parent involvement. And people, they came in. Once again, in the school setting, people are teaching choice theory to the kids. Her kids, elementary level kids, did teaching presentations at national educational conferences. They would travel. They charged people money to come and visit the school. Other educators, they charged a fee to come and visit and see what was going on. And that gave them lots of money to do all sorts of stuff. Well, that was that's in their organized behavior now. In a quality school environment, they're asking kids to evaluate their own work. We're setting high standards. At one time, Glasser talked about A's and B's. If you couldn't do away with grades altogether, he went to a medical school where there were no grades. You had to pass and show competency, and it wasn't minimal. Set high standards, continuous improvement, help students to help themselves. We don't just leave them hanging out there. Offer alternatives and choices. And ownership at all. I don't think it was bubbling. This concept of Sue and Sharon in schools, especially, that the kids, Steve Hammond uses it, all the educators use it, that the concept of ownership rather than renting. Is this kid just a renter right now, for a short period of time, or is he a part owner in the school? And we know it's different if I'm an owner rather than a renter. I've got more investment. It was interesting. You could do a whole seminar on rental versus ownership things. And of course, in the quality school, lead management on the choice theory ideas is the method of operating things. And overall, you want to look at both students and staff, their wants and needs. So it's a challenge for a school principal about the staff needs and the student needs and parent needs and judging all those. So I'm hoping that that maybe you were just reminded about something you'd heard before and forgot. Maybe you got a slight little twist or something you could use on something you already knew, maybe something new. But that's my kind of way of just presenting information. Maybe that's a challenging way of a little bit creative. All right.
Okay, thank you, Wendell. Thank you.
Right.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I'll give yourself a round of applause and all of that.
Yeah.
I know you're always looking for snappy sayings. May I suggest?
Yes. Oh,
something?
yes.
Okay. On theory, THEORY, yielding to effective choices. And then
say that again.
Yielding to effective choices.
Yielding to effective choices.
And then on therapy, to have yes to relating. Or yielding to connective habits.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. We're going to close out and have a little discussion afterward. So thanks a lot.
All right.